Cricket et al. It's a website. It's a podcast.
Pete, it's a way of life. It's Gideon under here.
And it's Peter Lawler right here.
Yeah. And welcome to Cricket et al., your independent cricket podcast. Look, it's not, you're not having double vision. We are actually in the same place. We're both in the Cogitorium. And in celebration, we're actually doing it from a different angle. This is the non-fiction shelves. Normally the cricket bookshelves are at my back.
Right up.
Yeah, there they go. Ugh.
Do you worry about avalanches?
No.
That'd be a fitting way for you to die.
It would be a fitting way for me to die.
He died under
He died doing what he loves.
being buried by
It's an
books.
alternative to getting pinged in the nets.
Last night you were fantasising about having a bath full of books.
Yeah, from Arnold Bennett's Riceman Steps. I've always loved that image. But anyway, Pete's passing by. We had the weekend very pleasantly spent, didn't we, at the Phillip Island Festival of Stories.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing to do. Wasn't a very cricket et al. Thing to do, but
no. But
people seemed interested.
There was a bit of cricket et al. Quotient in there, wasn't there? We talked about the podcast and the Substack to an engaged audience.
Yeah.
And you interviewed Bo Vernon, I interviewed Peter Grester. It was a splendid weekend.
Peter Grester's got the movie out now.
He does, The Correspondent, which I recommend to. And I've got. Oh, you've got the book. I read the book.
How long was he locked up for?
He was just over a year.
Gee.
Yeah. So yes, but he made the best of it.
He's written a book about it. He's made a movie, and
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, it's a meal ticket for the rest of his life.
I must try that sometime.
You must try that. Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
tried it in the States, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It didn't really work. No, it's nice to come back to Victoria again. Drive down Batman Avenue and then up. What's the next street? Is it Exhibition? Isn't it?
Yeah,
Exhibition.
yeah.
Past the Herald and Wheatley
Yes.
Times building.
Your life
Drives
flashing
all the way
before
to
your
your
eyes.
Yeah, all the way to your place.
Yeah.
You never worked in that building, did you?
I worked next door. I worked
At
in
Lindrum's?
the old Lindrum's Billiard Parlour.
Yeah.
Which was the Oz office back in the mid-90s. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. They were special up there, weren't they? Were you above the walls or below them?
It was the old Business Daily office, and they had this incredibly antiquated technology that was prone to overheating. So the windows always had to be open, so it was absolutely freezing while you were working on these very, very hot computers. A very News Limited experience.
Yeah, I miss those days. Well, that's what we were talking about on the weekend, wasn't it? The old days of the journey from Murdoch to the new media.
I think you were busy talking about the golden era where there was so much money to be splashed around in journalism. I must have missed that era.
Really?
Yeah. It's always seemed like an industry kind of on the bones of its arse.
No, there was a lot of money when I first started.
Maybe the money never got to Melbourne.
You could smash an expense account back in the day.
Right.
In fact, that's what expense accounts existed for the old school journos, was just to smash them. I did some good jobs. I hired a private jet to take a photograph. That was of the what was the refugee boat called?
Oh, yeah. Well, that would have been the entire travel budget of the Oz in the last 12 months.
I rang up and I ordered a private jet, and we stepped aboard, and the photographer went, I can't take photos out these windows. They're the wrong shape. Oh, no.
Photographers, they're never happy, are they? They're never happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like taking a slightly unruly child to the show, isn't it? Yeah. But
Anyway, it's nice to be here in Carlton.
Nice to have you here, Pete.
Do you have Carlton routines?
Not really, no. But I've got certain sort of Carlton fixtures, certain Carlton institutions.
Yeah.
Always go to Mario's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which isn't in Carlton.
Which is actually just over the border in Fitzroy, but it's Carlton adjacent. Readings, of course, up the road. Cinema Nova. Yeah. A lot of the good things about Carlton haven't actually changed in all the time that I've been here. And I've been this side of the river, for 40-odd years.
La Mama Theatre's still here. Do you ever get to La Mama?
Yeah, I've been to the La Mama Theatre, yeah. The old courthouse is around the corner. Brunetti's is still here. It's,
Yeah,
it's a
kind
nice
of.
place
Tiamo's isn't quite what it was.
Tiamo's probably not what it was. The University Cafe, still
solid.
Still very solid, very solid. But anyway, that's not what we're here to discuss, Pete. It's cricket. What are we going to talk about? Yeah, I guess we could talk about the England-India Test match. It's the novelty of a draw, Peter. Haven't had a draw since the great draw
one
that we saw in Manchester in 2023. It's a place for good draws, although it wasn't the weather this time that had the last word. It was that very benign pitch and some determined Indian batting on the last day.
How many wickets fell in that game? Not a lot, did they?
Not a lot.
Was it 24 perhaps?
And after India lost 2 in the first over, they went like 120, 130 overs with losing 2 more, and with 3 Indian centuries made and a 90.
It's so hard to conceive of having come back from the Caribbean where nobody could make a run to save their life. That's just they're handing out hundreds, aren't they? Shubman Gill's made 4 centuries in this tour,
and he's looked amazing too. I mean, and they were, having watched him during that innings, there were periods where the batting was quite difficult. He came in on 2 for naught.
Yeah.
And Stokes bowled a great spell to him yesterday morning. Threatened to break through at every stage.
That was right up to the new ball, wasn't it?
It was,
they took the new ball, and
they did. They nicked him out, and they had Jadeja dropped first ball. In fact, England, I think, have ended up dropping 5 chances, so they can't claim that they didn't have their opportunities to seal that test. But look, it's India have trailed by 311 on first innings, and they've still managed to draw the test. That's a fine performance, suggestive of a team that's got a bit about them.
It's almost a provocative draw, isn't it? Like, we'll show you how to draw a game of cricket and how it can be an achievement.
Yeah, and they were a batter down too because Pant was injured. That's him out of the tour. Yeah, so a bit of character in that Indian team.
Gautam Gambhir seems to think that they should have replacement players, and some other commentators have suggested that too. What do you think? Yeah,
I thought Stokes' reply to that was actually quite good.
I agree.
It will be just too easy to game the system. Because every bowler really is carrying some sort of niggle, some sort of injury that's potentially game threatening. So I was with him. I think apart from the concussion sub, I would do my best to preserve the idea of cricket being an 11-a-side game.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's nonsense too, and it would be gamed.
Yes,
for sure. Stokes bowled again. I didn't think he was going to bowl that game,
and he had a giant game. He was magnificent.
He grimaced through 11 overs.
Grimaced through he's not old poker face, is he?
He's not the
pain might but only be an emotion, but it's an emotion that he is inclined to share.
He's a very emotional fellow. Then he was in emotional distress,
but he was quick. He was quick, and he was testing, and that angle that he bowls from, he's very difficult to line up to. He got more from the ball than probably any other England bowler. They would have looked a little bit plain without him, and of course he's made 100 and he's looked outstanding. Did you see that 6 he hit off Jadeja? That flat 6 he hit over cover. It's probably gone no more than head height at any point, and it's gone all the way for 6. And the bat speed was just incredible. It was like a whiplash. So he looked back to his very best, having had a fallow period with the bat coming into this game.
And it's the joy of a 5-test series too. We're just seeing that the side's worn down.
It is
trying to manage their bowling stocks. Yeah. You do it. Do you rotate them like India's doing, or not rotate them like England's doing? Can Stokes play one more Test match? One assumes he can.
Well, I'm sure if it's humanly possible, he will do so. Interestingly, Wood was lined up, wasn't he, for the last Test match of the series, but it doesn't look like he's going to play. I think Atkinson, if he'd been fit, would have played in this game, but he's ended up not making the cut. Overton, I think he's in the squad for the final Test match, but he's just back from injury. If they could just get their first choice team on the park, for all my reservations about Wokes, he's always fit, he's always ready to go. I can't see him being a huge threat in Australia, but he does the job for them in England.
And Cricket et al.'s Cam Ponsonby's filed a match report, summation of events, and not happy with the behaviour of Ben Stokes in the English side.
It did feel a little bit churlish, the way that England behaved on that last day when Jadeja and Washington Sundar were within cooey of reaching hundreds, which I think both of them deserved, having battled very determinedly to draw the game for India. I think it was uncharitable and a bit buffoonish, actually, of England to utter comments that they clearly knew were going to be picked up by the stump mics. to kind of mock and deride opponents that way is indicative of a kind of just a lack of grace. And as I've said, an opportunity for another lecture from England about the spirit of cricket. We do love it on Cricket et al.
It has been a willing series on those fronts, hasn't it? We saw that. With India trying to game the system to only face one over in the previous match, and England getting very upset about that. India, sorry. Got that ass about, haven't I?
You did. Don't make that mistake. You'd be burned at the stake for it. But
Correct,
yes. Yeah, and it was interesting that Zach Crawley was in the middle of that protestatious circle towards the end, saying it was ridiculous or outrageous or something. What's ridiculous is here's a guy who's played 58 Test matches, averaging 31. That's ridiculous.
Go Giz. And there's a silly cricket going on as well. They're still in the West Indies, the Australians.
They are, aren't they? It must feel like they're never going to get home.
Gee, how much do I regret not staying for the T20 series?
But there's been a bit in them, hasn't there?
Yeah.
Enough. I mean, it is interesting to see Australia now have a bedrock of power hitters, which they haven't really had previously. I think they've had Tim David, but now they've got Mitchell Owen as well. Who's been shown to good advantage, and Cameron Green batting outstandingly, which meant that Maxie's gone to the top of the order in Head's absence, and he's obviously enjoyed the experience, and just some Maxie magic in that last game. Weren't those catches just extraordinary? He makes you take them for granted, but that catch. Or that non-catch, of course, of Rosario Shepherd down at Long On, where he palms it back into the path of the oncoming Cameron Green, and he gets no credit for it. Has that occurred to you? In those assisted catches, it ends up being credited
the person who pouches
to the person who pouches it. So Maxie doesn't get any statistical recognition.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah. But he's made that catch.
He's
it's
hot at the
impossible
moment,
without
isn't he,
him.
too?
Yeah.
Out of contract,
Out of contract, exactly. Yeah. You had a chat with him, didn't you, at
Bit
the end of the
brief,
West Indies tour?
Yeah, a brief one over, late at night over a beer.
Yeah.
He's enjoying that freelancing. I think it's the lack of responsibility. I think he was finding the responsibility onerous.
Yes.
I think that leg hurts him more than he lets on.
Yes.
It restricts him a fair bit.
Yes.
I think he's had to come to accept that. And he's prone to sort of anxiety, isn't he, to sort of stress a bit. So I think you take the contract away, and you play with a different attitude. I think I remember that Justin Langer did that to Mitch Johnson when Langer was what's the Perth BBL team, the Scorchers. Called. He wanted Mitch to play, and Mitch did sort of, I'm not really sure. I don't know. And he says, it's okay. Hey, just take an assistant coaching contract for $5,000 and just help us out. And he said, I'll do that. Yeah. And he ended up playing all the games kind of things. And he enjoyed it. And he enjoyed it because there wasn't an expectation on him.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's interesting that we're getting to this point now where contracts are being seen in a different way. They used to be regarded as, a security blanket for players, a guaranteed kind of minimum income over the course of the next year. But now, of course, players place a higher premium on their freedom of lance. And
freedom of lance.
They don't necessarily want to be pinned down in the same place. I mean, the contract system in Australia dates back to the mid-1980s, doesn't it? Where there was the agitation about the potential for the rebel tours to come through and nip off Australian players who were concerned about their future prospects. But it's now come to be recognised in a quite a different way. Just another process of in cricket's evolution.
You're seeing Maxi at that level. Not a lot of them at that level. There's a few at state level jumped out.
Yes,
ducked the West Australian guys.
Yeah. But I thought we might talk a little bit, Pete, about taking us back to the mid-1980s, about Allan Border.
Can we do that? Can we do that after break? So I want to check that I push record.
Okay.
All right. Stand by.
Yeah. It's
It's
fine,
going.
Pete.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Good.
Yeah. Back in a moment on Cricket et al. Just a classic Cricket et al. Moment there.
Okay.
Hey, right, and we're back on Cricket et al. in the Cogitorium. I lobbed a piece up on the Substack last night for in honour of Allan Border's 70th birthday, 27 July 1955. He was born. I didn't want the day to pass without a recognition of that milestone. Determined 70 not out. That's a classic kind of Allan Border entrenchment.
Allan Border's 70.
Yeah.
God, where did the years go? Gideon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have your experiences been of Allan Border, Pete?
Well, one of my early experiences is when I moved in with Sue in Petersham.
Yeah.
I had one cricket book, and it was your book on Allan Border, and I put it up on the picture rail. So we had a picture of Allan Border in the lounge room to compete with all the fine arts.
That's right. That's right. And his bloodied visage too, wasn't it?
Yeah. What year did you publish that?
That was 1994. That was the year of his retirement. A book called The Border Years. I mean, it was a quickie. I think I did it in like 3 weekends.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it, and I enjoyed doing it. And funnily enough, I went to Allan's place in 2000 to ghost a book, or his contribution to a book called The Dominators, about the Australian cricket team of that period. Allan sort of provided commentaries on various of the players. And I looked in the bookshelf, and there was a copy of The Border Years. And I thought, do I point that out? I said, Allan, you've got a copy of The Border Years. He said, yeah, I've never read it. I said, well, why would you, Pete? You know the story far better than I do.
So that's the house that he has up on the hill?
Up on Chapel Hill,
yeah. I've been to that home as well. Yeah. It's a humble border abode,
Very
isn't
humble.
it? Yeah. Wow, this is where Allan Border lives.
I know.
I spent a day with him up there when he released another book, and I went up to do something for the
Yeah.
Australian magazine. And we went down to his local pub, and we sat in the outdoor area. We were the only people there.
Yeah.
The waitress came and said, "Oh, you can't sit here. You've got to sit inside." You know, it's that Queensland hospitality that you get. Small. And Alan's just, okay, sorry about that. Sorry. He's just those humble man, isn't he? It's that Alan, it's that Ron Brassey thing where he doesn't. He's the only guy who doesn't know he's Allan Border. He's AB for fuck's sake.
Exactly. Yeah. I was the third party in a conversation last year at the Perth Test match, where I saw Allan. I went up for a chat to him at the back of the press box, and we were talking about I think we were talking about a young West Indies fast bowler that he played against for Essex in the 1980s. Okay. You know, one of those esoteric kind of cricket nerdy conversations. And John Stevenson came up, who's now the CEO over at Cricket WA, who, of course, played for Essex in that period.
That's right.
And I said, we were just talking about so-and-so playing in Essex. And John Stevenson went straight back there. He said, I batted with Allan at the other end in that stand, and I learned so much about batting from you, Allan. I learned so much. And once again, Allan doesn't realise that he's Allan. The affection and the reverence and even the awe in Stevenson's voice as he talked about the experience of batting with Border, I thought that's actually really quite touching.
The Allan Border that we know, however, isn't the Allan Border that played cricket, is it?
That's true.
It was a very different demeanour in those days, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
I recall sitting in 2004 in India at sort of cricket dinner, and Allan was there, and people started to tell Border stories, and they were all like encounters with Allan Border. Who was there? Barry, the South African player.
Barry Richards.
Barry Richards.
Yeah.
I think Barry Richards finished with a story about being pinned to the dressing room wall by Allan, who was threatening to punch him in the head over a selection issue at Queensland.
Well, that's right. Yeah, because Barry Richards was the CEO up there for several years, wasn't
By
he?
this stage, Allan's got his face in his hands going. I realised I was such a prick. It's quite good.
Yeah. I think Greg Chappell once said that he was the most negative cricketer that he'd ever met.
Really?
Yeah. That he always and it's interesting because
there's too much negative said about negativity.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of it.
He found negativity a great driver.
Yeah.
That the prospect of failure was a tremendous spur to him to do the opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
Just curmudgeonly.
Yes.
And that's the way I recall him, sort of, just by the sheer force of his sort of will and anger turning around Australian cricket.
Yes, but maybe not being able to take it that last step of the way.
No,
because it needed someone with a fresh pair of eyes who maybe hadn't had the kind of the residual trauma of the 1980s. So it was necessary for him to hand off the captaincy to Mark Taylor, who wasn't anywhere near as scarred.
Do you remember that story about when Marshy was dropped? Jeff Marsh.
I do, yeah.
Have we told that story before? And he was off the field, wasn't he? Arguing with Cricket Australia.
With Laurie Saul.
With Laurie Saul, because they'd signalled in the middle of the previous test match, which must have been in Adelaide, that Marshy wasn't going to play the next one, which was a bit foolish of them. Allan was furious. And I think Allan didn't make the plane the next... Oh, no, he didn't make the... He didn't take on the field. He didn't go on the field. And the journos...
Paul Rifle had to go on. I think it was his first test match, and he was 12th man.
And the journos asked the Australian Cricket Board, where's Allan? Where's Allan?
We don't know.
No, they said, he's got the shits.
He's got the shits.
And everybody thought that he had a stomach complaint, but he literally had the shits. That's quite a good answer.
Yeah.
He's got the shits. Allan Border's got the shits. It'd be a good title for a book.
Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, shout out to Allan. He's a lovely man.
Adore him.
And a great cricketer. And also a cricketer, obviously from a different era. A lot of his benchmarks were his great performances against the West Indies, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Who have ceased to be the benchmark in quite the same way. And the other interesting thing about his record, which I think is underestimated, is I think he averages like 46 in Australia, but 56 overseas.
Wow.
And it when you lived through that era, it always seemed like somewhere in a foreign country, in a hot climb against a hostile attack, Allan Border was staving off defeat for Australia.
Yeah.
And eventually kind of bred that in the Australian bone. So great to reminisce about Allan. It's also the 110th anniversary yesterday of Jack Iverson's birth.
Oh, really?
Who I also wrote
a book about.
Yeah.
We could probably just nominate cricketers you haven't written books about. It'd be quicker. But
I always thought it was a lovely coincidence that I'd written two books about cricketers who were born on the same day, and two cricketers who you couldn't have got, who couldn't have been less similar.
I really enjoyed that book. I haven't read it for a long time. Yeah. What? How did that one come about?
I think I got. I tell you what it was. It was an ad in the real estate section of The Age in 1998, saying that the home of the former Australian cricketer Jack Iverson at 44 Black Street in Brighton was for sale. I thought, gee, that's really
Were you home shopping at this period?
I don't know. I don't know how it came to my attention, but I thought, that's worth looking into.
Yeah.
So I went there and I knocked on the door, and I said, look, and a woman answered the door, and I said, look, you won't know this, but 25 years ago, an Australian cricketer called Jack Iverson used to live here. And she said, I'm his daughter.
So that's right. Yes, I recall that.
And that, of course, was also the house in which he'd taken his own life.
Yeah.
So that started me off on a deep dive, a thoroughly deep dive into the story of this very, very mysterious cricketer who had sort of been left a comet trail across Australian cricket in 1950-51. He was top of the bowling averages in an Ashes series and then disappeared out of sight.
Did he bowl? Would you have caught that later dubbed the carom ball? But it was He flicked it with the middle finger, didn't he?
Although he bowled
which he practiced from a ping pong ball, wasn't it?
He did. That's right. Yeah, but he bowled it in because he bowled it out the back of the hand.
Is that how he did it?
Yeah. It just came naturally to him to do that way. So it spun the opposite way to the one that Johnny Gleeson bowled, because he bowled it out at the front of the hand.
And suffered terribly from nerves?
Suffered terribly, I think, from a sense of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's what.
Not being a cricketer, not having a cricket background. He never played in the first 11 at Geelong College, and that's very unusual. He played in the seconds. He played house cricket. I remember, because I also went to Geelong College, I remember looking up in the school magazine, and he left no trace. And Geelong College is very proud of its cricketing heroes, your Paul Sheehan's and your Ian Redpaths and your Lindsay Hassett's, but Jack Iverson, in his upward trajectory to the Australian team, he genuinely did come from nowhere. And when he went back to nowhere, I think part of him felt that was where he belonged.
Yeah. Go back and read that.
Anyway,
book.
fascinating story. Fascinating story. Pete, is that all we've got time for?
Yeah, I've got to hit the road and go and see Uncle Lenny in Kangaroo Flat.
All right. Well, it's been great to have you with us in the
Nice to
Cogitorium
drop by.
on Cricket et al. And we'll see you again soon. It's goodbye from me.
And it's good night from him.